Our next speaker is Sofia from a company called NomNom, and Sofia is going to share all her worldly knowledge. So take it away, Sofia.
I'm excited to be here. I haven't been in a meetup for a long, long time. Are you ready for this accent? We can do this. We can do this. Okay. So this is not. There you go. So I'm Sofia, co-founder at NomNom. I'll tell you in a minute what NomNom does. But today I want to share with you a little bit of a topic that I don't get to hear much around the SaaS community. We always talk about culture and how to build culture, and it tends to be very high level. So today I want to share with you some of the experiments that we have done within the team. We are a fully remote team. They have worked so far. I'm very interested in dynamics and to how people work together and how people can do better work faster. And I have experimented with a bunch of little crazy things that I think if you are a larger company, you can implement in smaller teams. If you're building a team, you can take away some of those techniques and see how that works for you. But for me, it's very important to understand how to structure a team that can endure a lot of changes, because that's what we do within the startup community or when we're building a business. So in the context of this talk, I'm talking about building resilient teams, teams that can absorb disruption without changing the order or changing the status quo, that you can trust the team to take major hits in terms of organization and impact and change without having to change completely the culture or change the organization. So that is what I'm going to be focusing on. So a bit of context on what we do. We are a SaaS company. We build software for product teams that want to aggregate customer feedback from different sources, and they want to organize their user research. These are some of our customers, and I can tell you more about that after the talk. Most of our customers are product teams and user researchers in larger organizations, and they tend to have a lot of data and a lot of user research done on an ongoing basis. So in terms of the company, we are 7 people. We are fully remote in 5 different cities, and that was intentional for the very beginning. We launched in 2016, officially open signups. Before we were in private beta for around 8 months, building the product, and we are busy back. So I sometimes wish that I didn't have investors, but they do help a lot when you have them, and they're good. So in terms of background, when I was thinking about speaking today, I was thinking about what will be the most important topic that we could talk about today beyond my personal story within the business. And I think when I think about that, I think about resources. What are the resources and what we optimize for on a daily basis? And when I think about trying to understand what to focus on, I do a bunch of little mind games, which is all about trying to challenge your thinking. So I use this technique. I don't remember where I learned this and if I read it before or is it a variation of some other technique. But if you had to run a hot dog stand and you had to get rid of everything and just get one thing there and still stay in business, what would you choose? Yeah, so thinking that you're running a hot dog stand, what would you need to have? Only one thing in order to stay in business. What would you sell? Yes, and then what is a hot dog then? It's sauces, and then you have like the sausage, and then you have the bread, and if you had to even get further and just get one thing that you can sell. People are getting like the bread and
sausage?
Yes, I don't have an octopus. I will share something else later, I guess. A beer? Yes, the sausage. So when I think about features, I think about any type of resource or what to focus on today. I always think about like, what is the sausage of this thing? What is the only thing that I should be doing today that if I do, I will not get out of business? Yeah, and that is just a mindset. And it's the same way that we think about MVPs, right? We think about what is the minimum viable that we can provide to a customer that delivers value. In this case, it's slightly different because it might be not something that you deliver completely, but it might be just a very small task that take you further. So when I think about the sausage within a SaaS business, it tends to be time, because that's what we struggle. If we have money, that is great, but you need time in order to make that money, put it to work. If you have a lot of time, and then you have a chance to succeed. So in terms of time, the sausage is probably that one, in terms of priorities. And when you think about what actually has an impact on time is people. If you have people and they can work for free, think about it from that perspective, and they're happy to keep being productive and put all the intention and passion and skills into what you're building, you have a chance of succeeding. But if you have no people, or you have people that are not motivated, they can take very, very long time to get to the final result. And we all have this pain, like how we do more with the people that we have in the time that we have. So that's the reason why I chose this topic today, because that is the sausage. So I'm going to share with you 10 people optimization hacks, and it's mostly focused on product development and engineering. And the reason why is because we are 7 people, but 90% of our team are engineers. I'm the only person not coding within our team. So this is, I know you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some things that we're going to be talking about work most of the time. Some things do not work. Some things will work for you, and so on. So just pinch of salt and think about just important things. So let's talk about the first one, rubber ducking. If you're running engineering teams, you're probably very familiar with this concept. It basically consists in you are stuck as an engineer, you have a problem you want to solve, you buy an actual rubber duck or any other entity that is not alive, and you tell that rubber duck your problem and what you're trying to solve. And as you're doing that, you somehow get to a solution because you start reflecting on the problem in different ways. So that concept is very familiar, and a lot of engineers use that all the time. However, and that comes actually from that awesome book called Pragmatic Programmer, highly recommend it. So that technique is very useful, but it's not only useful for engineers. We took it a little bit to the next level, and we use that as part of the culture to integrate other team members with the engineering team and to also accelerate collaboration. Remember that this is in the context of remote teams. So we are all in different cities, and we have to collaborate very tightly into the development cycle. So in that case, what we do is there is a rule. So if you are stuck, it's mandatory that you get to talk to somebody, not necessarily an engineer. And that doesn't mean that you have to have meetings all the time. It just means I have no idea what is the next step, let's rubber duck. And that became a device. Like culture is just little artifacts that we build to improve communication. So that became an artifact that is being used for us for design. For me, rubber ducking, what I'm going to be doing in the next presentation for the investors, for engineers to talk to each other, for operation perspective. So every time we have something that we feel unsure or we don't know what the next step is, people just say, oh, can I rubber duck with you this thing? And what it does is just, it helps build a culture where not knowing is okay. When I cannot have all the answers and I can just talk to you and say, listen, I'm super lost here and I need some help. So it's a very small thing, a very small transaction that many people can take during the day, very, very fast, that builds an understanding that we are all in this together and we don't have to have all the answers. The other thing is, of course, improve collaboration across the board, and it helps you ship faster, because people get to the answers faster. So that is a technique that we use, and we don't only apply within the development team, which I think is the important part here. A designer should be able to say, I have no idea what is the next step. Let me talk about this specific challenge with somebody else and get it sorted. Of course, I'm showing all of this because happens on Slack. And I have another rule that I'll show you in a second, but it becomes even more complex, right? Because you have to explain what is the problem and actually get it sorted with somebody else. Normally doing a call, but Slack also helps. So this one. That is related to the rubber ducking. And that is a rule, especially for engineers. I found that at the very beginning of our journey, because we are remote and everybody goes and just focus on solving the problems and trying to build the product as fast as we can. Engineers love to solve problems, right? So therefore, you can spend a lot of time on your own trying to get to the best solution. And we noticed at the first 6 months that we will be working on things that we thought was going to take a couple of hours, and it took a couple of days. And as you know, you're very familiar, everybody's smiling, we all have that problem, but we wanted to really understand why. And when we started talking to the development team, we understood that a lot of these roadblocks came from people spending too much time working on something and not really trying to find help at all. because they feel proud or they feel very excited about what they're solving. But we noticed that when we started forcing this rule, which is enforcing, I say forcing because you have to somehow get the team engaged into some rules to make it work. When we started asking people, if you are spending 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes typing something, or you are stuck on something, you need to get on a call. And this is especially for chat and live chat. When you're on a Slack, you can find yourself writing a long explanation or overdocking something for 5 minutes in a written form. That doesn't help you because you think you are solving the problem, but you're taking a tremendous amount of time solving it. So being able to say, this is too long, just jump on a call is very, very important. Again, it's just a tiny, tiny detail. But if everybody's conscious of it, you save a ton of time. People solve the problem faster, and they get to work, and they get it done, and we can ship it. So a big part is also the bottleneck. So if a developer is just waiting for another one to get something done, or waiting for a staging, or whatever the reason is, there is a bottleneck, the only way that you can solve it is by then actually talking to each other and getting it done. Within that collaboration and being able to rubber duck and get into a solution faster, being able to do the rubber ducking also fast through jumping into a call if it takes more than 5 minutes, there is another thing that we do a lot. And you will think that all these activities and all the things that we're talking about might take a lot of time. We actually don't have meetings, and that's the key. We don't have meetings. We only have meetings when it's a very particular thing that we need to discuss, like a strategy or maybe a prioritization session. But we avoid meetings at all costs. We just have very short interactions that are very specific about moving forward. So in this case, what we do to have a bit of a understanding of what we're moving towards is stepping back. So we have 4 ways of stepping back. We do have, anybody uses Status Hero here? Highly recommended. Status Hero is a tool that will send you an email in the afternoon, whatever time you want to receive that email, and it asks you, what have you done today? That's it. And you can write there a bullet point of things that you care about, the highlights of your day. This is not about micromanaging. This is about saying, these are the 4 things that I actually accomplished today. And then in the morning, it will send you a compilation of all the things that everybody did the day before into your inbox. So you have, first of all, visibility into what got done the previous day, but most importantly, you have the chance to say at the end of the day, okay, wow, that was a really quick day, everything happens too fast, but I got done all of these things. And that sense of accomplishment and stepping back is really, really important. So we do that, and that kind of replaces our stand-up. When we have the stand-up in the morning, it is basically, what happened there? I don't know. This is what is going to happen today. So when we get together, is very, very quick, 5 minutes, like, okay, I'm planning that this is going to happen today. These are my goals and my deliverables or what I want to get to. And around 2:30 p.m., we have a catch-up that is about, is it really happening? Like all these plans that you had in the morning, is it really happening? And it allows you to see, okay, wow, no, we had to crush this bug, or this other thing happened, or actually didn't ask for help when I needed. And it's just a quick touch base to understand if we are actually on track. And it might sound like, okay, why 2 calls, that's too much, or why talking about this, how 2 stand-ups a day. We actually experimented this when we were in San Francisco. My co-founder and I, we were just visiting customers and so on, and the dev team was customer support completely, which we do, but they were 100% doing that. And it was a way of catching up in the afternoon when we were waking up. And what we found out is that after coming back from San Francisco, we said, well, fine, we don't need that anymore. And the team actually found it very helpful, so we stayed with it. They found that getting together at 2 p.m. helps them to step back and see the progress and clarify any doubts. So that's that. Then after we understand what is happening, the cycle starts again. You get an email, Status Hero, and then you see, okay, this is what actually got done. And that gives you a massive visibility and also helps everybody to share any roadblocks that they might have. Every 2 weeks, we do a retro. We use Retrium over there. Awesome tool as well to run a retrospective with remote teams. Really brilliant. It takes an hour to do it, and we focus only on what went well and what sucked. And we always know more or less what we're going to be discussing because we have all this visibility, so we spend that time actually drilling down into what were the root causes and how we're going to fix it and so on. this is what actually Status Hero looks like. So what it does, all these little things and interactions, these 5-10 minutes here and there, help you to do better sprint planning. We found that it really helps. We do 1 week sprint planning, for example, very short cycle, and it helps a lot. We learn more of how we plan things, and also more of this type of ideas come from the sort of retrospective. And again, it helps you ship faster. This is something that we do. A lot of companies do this and they write about it. Some people have good experiences. Some people say it's horrible. In our case, it does work. So having everybody to help with QA and having everybody to do support. So all of our engineers have interact with customers on a daily basis and solve problems straight away when they have them. From one side, everybody's testing, and therefore everybody understands the product and everybody understands the pain points. And on the other hand, whenever things don't go well here, we can understand how to solve them quickly. So this is, for example, our senior backend engineer talking to the customer, at the same time Robert talking about the solution. And then those things get done pretty quickly. Another thing that we do that we found super helpful is this couple of tools here. Full Story, do you use Full Story? Anybody uses Full Story? Yes, brilliant. If it's anything that you're gonna try after this talk, let's try Full Story. It helps you record the sessions of your customers. So if you have a bug or your customers are stuck on anything, you can actually see the session and understand what it happens and solve it super, super fast. So what it helps you also is to debug. So our dev team of engineers go to Full Story, understand the problem, and then talk to customers so they can get to the point faster and understand if they can actually fix it straight away. It's super, super good. And also for UX issues, Full Story helps you to really understand where people struggle. Then we use Loom, which is a video platform. It helps you, again, to record very quickly and send a video to the customer saying, oh yeah, I see what happens, this is the solution, this is what we're doing, and so on. And those small details where you actually show your face and interact with people make a massive difference. Especially because in our case, our customers are larger companies and with large teams, so that personal touch is very, very important. Then we use our own product. That's where we funnel, intercom, our customer support information, emails that we get from sales interactions, and then we can give the whole team visibility into what customers are saying. And of course, we use intercom for customer support, which is a live chat, basically. So it helps us. All of these things, what it does, it just help us to have more empathy with users and understand their use case more. Develop obviously better solutions, and it helps you ship faster. Another thing that we do that we found helpful, and I've been doing for a long, long time now, is for us it's very important the concept of transparency. We don't do transparency like Buffer, that is just all radical transparency and a lot of content marketing. We do more internal radical transparency. So I've been lucky that I worked in the past in companies that were very, very transparent, and I learned a lot from that and the impact that that has on people and in culture, especially in uncertainty. And the way we do that is a couple of things. So the first one is that I share everything with the team. My presentations for investor or board meetings, the emails that they send me. I share anything that can help them to have context in terms of how the business works and why we're making decisions the way we make them. They know how much money we're spending. They know how we spend that. They know runway. They know everything. And the reason why we do that is because if you are living through a certain time, which is startup, if you have at least an understanding of the baseline, you know where to, you know the playground, you know how much you can get done, and you know where you stand, basically. So I think that is very important. So we do that. We share a lot of those stuff. Then we send in on Sundays, which people of course read on Mondays, the email, a summary of what we do every week. So we send metrics, sign-ups, conversions, visitors, engagement, and so on. Key metrics, we celebrate achievements, anything that we shipped, anything that we done well. The bad news, always, what went wrong. And then product, anything that is progress or anything that we have done around product and growth in general, so metrics. And that email is very short, but it helps people to have visibility on the progress that we're making. Again, it helps with uncertainty, it helps with business understanding, and it helps you ship faster. I want to emphasize the business understanding. We sometimes underestimate how much other people understand things. Just because we know it, it doesn't mean that they understand, especially other technical areas in the business. So we assume that they're getting all this information, but do they really understand the implications? That is not necessarily the case. So as a founder, I think it's our job to provide that understanding. And the more they understand the business context, the better they come up in terms of ideas and the effort. So I'm very surprised by ideas and suggestions that we have from our engineers and designers when we have a business problem. They now get it, but it took time to get there, but now we get much more from them because of that. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is another thing that we do. This is, well, let's start over there. Marty Kagan, he's an amazing product manager. He worked with every single company in the world. He has amazing books. Yeah, he's just like this massive veteran. He says something. I went to a workshop that he did here. He's the founder of Silicon Valley Product Group. And he says something that I don't know if I have said it before, but I just wrote it down at the very moment. He said, if engineers are only coding, you're getting half of your money worth. And I thought that was brilliant. Like I tried to understand why. And what he means is that what I was actually saying before, engineers have a very different way of thinking about problems. And you can't underestimate how valuable those ideas are, especially when you are in the side of creativity, marketing and acquisition and so on. It's really hard to think about problems in a different way. So I wish I had started doing this earlier. Basically, we are trying to implement this, which looks very messy, but it's basically having a continuous research process, continuous discovery process within the development cycle, and then you have the delivery process. This is coding, and this is researching. Having engineers in the research side of things, that might mean being part of a customer interview, that might mean that they actually build a little prototype for somebody else, that might mean even customer support, any kind of interactions that they can have, and hypothesis building, and testing and validating hypotheses. It really pays off when it comes to actually scoping features or scoping the product on its own. So we do that more often now, and the way we do is that we say, we have this hypothesis, we have no idea, we're gonna start researching with customers or people outside. Can you just come and let's collaborate in this Google Doc about what you think about this problem? And this is what we heard so far. What do you think would be an interesting solution for this? And that conversation can happen, like it could be 20 minutes of their time, and then we talked about it again when we've done some testing, and then come back. But inserting them in the areas where they are normally left out, it really pays off. So this is something that we're trying to do, so involving engineers at the early stage of the discovery process. So again, you get better ideas, better scoping, less surprises when it comes to actually shipping products, and it helps you ship faster. Change management, that is all related to what we're talking about today, but there is this book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. Fantastic book. It has all the different psychology principles that drive how people make decisions. It's really, really good. But they mention in the book this example of, it's a research basically, where you have a queue of people that wants to do copies, and somebody sent to the very beginning of the queue saying, oh, can I please just go and do copies? Something around like 70% of people say yes, go for it. That's fine, they gave it the chance. But when they repeat the experiment and they ask the person to go back to the front and say, can I go first because I want to make copies because I want to make copies, or because I'm late, or whatever reason, 90% of people say yes. So whatever the reason is, even if it's not good, when you give people a reason for why you're doing something, they tend to say yes faster, or at least collaborate. And that is such a tiny, small detail, but it makes total sense in the context of marketing, and we have used that technique forever, but in the context of managing a team even more. That's why we are transparent, that's why we do what we do in terms of sharing information. If people have some knowledge about why they're doing things, they tend to be part of it or be interested in. So, yeah, that's it. That's the part. So again, I think that is mostly about building trust and alignment around your team. Another thing that we do, and it's only 10 things, so we're almost there, is onboarding new team members. I have a personal experience in all the jobs that I had before, that once you say yes and you say, okay, this is where you start, like next Monday, everything goes into a different kind of dynamic. You get, at the beginning it's all this sort of flirting with the job and getting excited about it and people convincing you, or you're trying to convince them, but after you sign the contract, you just kind of be pushed into this kind of funnel and start working and doing things. I think something that has helped us massively during the last year has been trying to understand that you don't stop telling people the story of the business just because they say yes. You have to carry on telling them the story of who they are within the business, how they make impact, how other teams will work with them, and so on. So we have, for example, a board with everybody in the team. So when you are new, you can actually talk to them on Slack, but you can actually see them, and everybody writes 10 things that you don't know about me, or nobody knows about me. And you get to know, personal stuff that are interesting, that provokes this initial conversation, which is really frightening when you are just in your house, chatting with new company and you don't know anybody. We also have this kind of living document actually, that we give them. It has everything. This is more like, this is how we do things. This is how Trello is used. This is how Slack is used. These are the channels. This is what we talk about in these channels. It's like a lot of nitty-gritty detail, but it helps and prepares people to understand when they land how to best use all the tools and how to best communicate with everybody. And we change it all the time. Every time somebody else joins, we just modify that and understand how to onboard them better. A lot of those things, these ones and the ones before, I learned by reading a lot of books around change management and psychology. Switch is a fantastic book. I always recommend that as well. It teaches you how to play with emotional and rational behavior to get people to do things. And that sounds like a very bad, but hopefully for good things. But it does help a lot. We do a meeting at the end of the first week to understand if it went well, and then we just carry on doing one-on-ones every month. That literally increases productivity the first week tremendously. Like the last engineer that we onboard, it was fully productive the first week, and that's very rare. That's also because we've done some work around installing yourself and having everything that you need to start coding, but also about the understanding of the business. And it helps you achieve faster. The next one is, and probably the most important one that I learned so far, that helps a ton, which is seeking uncomfortable conversations. As founders and building businesses, that's always going to happen. That is 100% of your job, is to have uncomfortable conversations all the time. But I think if you seek those conversations, you at least help yourself to not avoid the important things, because those things that we avoid tend to be the most important things that we need to do. So I think from that, I can mention two things. The first one is, what you don't say is as dangerous as what you say. So staying silent about something that you think is a problem, or something that you need to talk about with an investor or any issue, it can make things worse. And it sounds very logical, but how often we just don't say anything. And then the next one is, once you have the bravery, once you put yourself together to say something that might be very uncomfortable, is understanding how you say it. And going back to book recommendations, The Chimp Paradox, amazing book as well, to understand how to phrase things, how to communicate messages in an effective way, so you can say really horrible things in a nice way, which is the key of moving forward anyway. So I'll give you one example. If you run a business here, you probably felt this before, and you have always somebody, especially investors, will tell you, hi, have you seen this company? Or normally this competitor, yeah? And that crushes your soul, because even though you know that you're doing something different, or you are aware of the market, you don't need, in this very moment, somebody to send you an email about this competitor. And if for some reason that competitor is doing something great that you're not doing necessarily today, it just can bring you down. And people don't do it with bad intentions. They just want to make you aware of something, but they are not necessarily aware of the consequences of having that communication. So I recently had that conversation with one of our investors. And instead of not saying anything and do what I always do, which is like, okay, I think I'm going to check it out and so on, I actually came back and say, what do you want me to do with this information? Let me tell you what happens when you say it to me. I feel insecure, stop my flow, I'm working with my team, and I will start researching what the people are saying about the company. And I listed all the different things that are triggers from that only sentence that person sent. So that person has the context. Now he has the context of how disruptive that can be. So I say, if you want to send me that, that's fine, but then tell me, what do you want me to look about that? What is your concern? Like, what is your goal for me knowing this information? And then be mindful that this is what happens. And I'm fine because I know that's not only me. We're all humans and we go through that. So by having that conversation, everything changes. Because I don't get those emails anymore, which is great. And when they get them, they go, yes. When I get them in a very different tone. It's not about, like, look at these people that pop up here. It's more about, like, oh, I see this, these people are doing this, it's interesting. This is how we think we're doing it. Is that true? So it's more a conversation about, how this other information can help us move forward. It's not about comparison anymore. It's not about, taking you in a guilty trip or something. So I think that is very important, but that's an uncomfortable situation and conversation. You don't necessarily want to have that conversation with an investor, but you have to have it sometimes in order to keep your peace and actually run the business the way you want to run it. So healthy boundaries, that's very important. It's part of the actually saying things when you need to say them and saying them in the right way. Sets expectations, and that happens with the team as well, and the feedback that we have to give to people sometimes. It's difficult to give bad feedback, and learning to do that effectively is very important. And if you do that, then it helps you ship faster. So that was it, and hope that you take something from this talk. Yeah, you can find me here. Talk to me. Let's have wine and beer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sofia.